Welcome to Just John and April, the relationship podcast, your place for life, love, and laughs. In this episode, Sex After 40, and the word of the day.
Okay.
Hey, babe. How you doing?
Good.
So I'm excited to get into this one.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah, I'm really
I'm
amped about
excited.
this.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So we spent the day today somewhere without the kids.
Just hanging out with some friends.
Right. And, the kids asked if they could, not come with us. And we said yes, reluctantly. But what we found out was that not being with the kids for a long period of time, even just a couple hours, really, it wasn't that long.
No, it was a few hours.
It feels good, but then you miss them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's about parenting. Why is it that it's like you spend all your time complaining about, the
Needing
kids.
a break.
Yeah, needing a break. As soon as you get it, you spend all your time, not all of it, but at least some of it, talking about the kids.
I know.
What's
the
up with
whole
that?
time we were there, everybody was talking about their kids.
Right. They all
Even
had
though
their kids with
kids
them.
were there 'cause they were
all
little.
much littler, yeah.
But we were right there talking about our kids. And
Right.
as soon as we got back home, I was like, we need to spend some time with
Right,
them.
exactly.
Let's go downstairs
Yes,
and get
exactly.
them and hang out with them.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's I don't get that about us.
I mean, I think parents are like that,
Yeah,
period.
right. It's just a parent
because
thing.
as soon as we leave, like if we go out of town, we have to leave them with grandparents. I'm like, oh, I miss them. Like we were just with them.
Right.
So,
Just with them for a long time, actually.
yeah. It's just, I guess it's the way it is.
I guess it's good to like your kids, though.
Of course. It is good.
Yeah, we like
Yeah.
ours. They're good kids.
They are. They're fun.
They are. Anyway, so, when you get to your 40s, I guess technically I'm in my 40s. You're just 40.
Exactly. I'm not in my 40s. Okay.
Whatever, man. When you get to your 40s.
End of my 30s.
Right. You've passed that already. There are a few things that happen at this age that...
Now, let's make this clear. We are not really in our 40s good.
That's true.
So we can't really speak on this very, just...
Whatever, man. I just turned 41.
Yeah.
So,
You're not really in it good, though.
So what does that mean? That means we can't talk about being in our 40s?
Yeah, I guess you can, but,
All right, let me just give you an example of what 40 feels like. So 3 days ago, I'm outside with John. He's 14 now. And he's shooting around in the front yard playing basketball. And I said, hey, let's just play one-on-one. He said, okay. Now I have a friend who has a son who's 14. And the friend said something to me about the fact that when he and his son were playing one-on-one, his son had these moves that he didn't know he had. And so it kind of threw him off. And he was like, oh, my goodness, this guy's actually good. And then he thought to himself, man, it's not going to be very long before my son's going to be able to beat me in basketball. And while my friend's saying this, I'm like laughing in my inside. I'm like, come on, man, please, whatever. So I get outside and I'm playing with John. And he does this little like stutter step move where he's driving to the hole with his left hand. And then he like does like a jab step. And then he like, takes a step backwards and then takes a jump shot and makes it. And where I was standing at the time, I was like under the basket because, I was still guarding him to go all the way to the basket, and he juked me. And I'm like, in that moment, I said to myself, I'm 40. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you could feel it?
Yes. In that moment, I could feel that I am 40. And I'm saying it's been a long time since high school when I was actually good at basketball, and my son is in high school now. And I'm taller than him. I'm stronger than him. You know what I'm saying? There are several things about me physically in terms of my attributes that I should be able to just handle him. You know what I'm saying? I won the first game 11-5. I won the second game 11-9. That should not have been that close.
Ooh.
Okay, so I'm just saying that's what 40 feels like. So I don't care if I'm not 45 or 49. You can tell me I'm not in my 40s, whatever you want to say. It feels different.
Okay.
This feels like something.
I haven't felt that yet, so.
It's because you ain't out there playing basketball with Julia.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I do. I do play with the children at school, and I don't feel like I'm, right with them. Right there with them.
It's because the kids you're playing with are too young. You got little middle schoolers at like 11 and stuff like that.
Come
You know what I'm saying?
Come on. It's
Try
okay.
playing with the high schoolers.
I'm not there yet. It's okay.
Anyway.
It's okay.
So bottom line is this. We're just contemplating 40. And we're looking at it, and we're in this sex series. This is part 3 of our sex series. And we mentioned in the last one that we were going to talk to you about, what it's like to have sex in your 40s. And so I thought we should frame it this way. When you were 22, you were married to me.
Yeah.
I was married to you, and I was also 22. If you could go back in time, and you could get in a time machine and go back and talk to 22-year-old April, what would you tell her as a 40-year-old woman about sex? Something that would help her, something that she didn't know. I don't know, anything. What would you tell 22-year-old you?
Know.
Or something that you'd want to, just some tip. I don't know, anything. What would you tell 22-year-old you about sex as a 40-year-old?
Okay, I would definitely tell her that when TV tries to act like you can have sex 2 and 3 times a day, that's a lie.
That's a lie. That's so true.
That's a lie.
Now.
And you can.
Right.
Because we tried.
Right.
And we were both not sharing with each other that we did not want to do it again.
We were like, I remember we were on our honeymoon, and I remember one of those days waking up from a nap or something like that. And, it was time to do it again, I guess, based on whatever. And I said to April, I said,
he was bold enough to say.
But I didn't say it boldly. You know what I'm saying?
You didn't. You didn't say it boldly,
No.
but you were bold enough to say.
I said, do you actually want to have sex right now?
No, he was like, he said it real quiet. Do you actually want to have sex right now?
And then you were like,
I was like, no.
You were like, no, I don't.
Yes.
I was like, me neither.
So good.
Oh,
yes.
Wow, this is so good. That was bad.
So my 40-year-old self would say to 22-year-old April, it's not that deep. Like, that's just so TV stuff.
Okay, so are you saying
just
this?
because you're not having sex 2 and 3 times a day when you first get married does not mean that you're not,
that something's wrong with you.
Right.
Right.
I don't know what that was.
Right.
But
so that's a good tip that you would give yourself.
It is. Because I think that happens to young people who
So
get married. They think that they have to do that.
That's true. So here's my question, though. Are you telling this, is this event happening before or after my 41st birthday?
What event?
This whole you going back in time, talking to yourself. Because clearly on my 41st birthday.
John, you know what? Oh, my goodness.
I'm just saying.
You just said that.
Why? I don't understand.
We're not putting that in this
Yes,
episode.
we are. That's in the episode.
Oh, my goodness. I hope people just didn't get it. Like, what? Okay, moving on. Okay.
So that's what you would tell yourself?
I would.
Okay. I think I would tell myself, basically to buckle up, that she's going to want it a lot when she turns 40.
He's just embarrassing me all around.
Is that embarrassing?
Yes.
Why?
Because.
Well, something happens in your 40s with, sexual peak as a woman. I don't know. That's good.
They do say that. Actually, they say late 30s it starts.
Yep.
Right?
Late 30s to early 40s, they say a woman's sexual peak is, I think they say a man's sexual peak is in his 20s. And that a woman's sexual peak is basically in her late 30s and 40s. So that presents an issue if you don't know that going in, I think, because I think it might mean that a person may think there's something wrong with them or something like that. You got to go in knowing that you may want it more than your wife in your 20s, and she may want it more than you in her 40s. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
I think it's important to keep in mind, but that is something different about sex in our 40s that we didn't expect, like, in our 20s. I didn't expect
That's
that at
true.
all.
I didn't either. What?
Why are you so embarrassed? I don't understand.
It just is.
Why is this embarrassing?
Nothing. Just talk, okay? So you putting me out there,
Anyway, so bottom line is that sex after 40 is different, but I think it's better for one particular reason. At least it's been better for us, I think. And that is because even though physically we are not as strong or as fast or as agile as we were in our 20s, I think sex has gotten better over time as we've become more one.
Yes.
And
so what we mean by more one, and let me make sure this is, clear.
Yeah.
Is that we've been working on our relationship.
Right.
Working to become one, become, really soulmates,
right.
Knowing each other to the
right.
point that we are wanting to fulfill each other in every aspect of the relationship.
Yes. I think it was episode 7 that we
just
mentioned something about
oneness.
being one. Yeah, oneness, the idea of oneness. The whole idea of two becoming one flesh. When you get married, you're two different people, you're becoming one flesh. We want to make sure you understand it doesn't mean like you lose yourself or anything like that. It's not as though all of a sudden I'm not John anymore, April's not April. But I think when you become one, you basically take on the best attributes of each of you, and when you bring those together, you become like this one complete whole. You know those couples that you hang out with that are sort of better together than they even are when they're separate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a oneness there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the oneness can be so great in the relationship that even when they are separate from each other, they're better people by themselves because they're still part of someone else. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what we mean when we say oneness.
Yeah, and it's being able to bring out that good from that person. You know, bring out all the wonderful attributes that they have.
Yes.
And also, I think oneness has to do with working on that relationship where there may be some issues that you have that you are working on.
Right.
You know, that you don't ignore. You don't just let them go or say, I don't want to deal with that. But you deal with it head on.
Right.
And, you talk about it, you communicate, and you work on those things to build that relationship so that it's strong and healthy.
Right.
And I think that helps the sex better to be better.
I agree.
It helps that oneness
Another thing about oneness is, you're not agreeing on everything all of a sudden. It's not like you never have disagreements or anything like that. But there's an understanding and there is a commitment to go in the same direction. Mm-hmm. There's this commitment to be together. You remember that ride or die thing? One of our words was ride or die at the end of one of our episodes. That's what we're really talking about here.
Right.
Oneness is about deciding, committing that this is who I'm with. This is my road dog, my ride or die from here on out. And we're going to be together and we're going to enjoy our relationship with each other because we're working on it.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this about my husband because I feel like this is so important. And it's hard to find. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think it's hard to find. But whenever I have a situation, babe, and I want you to know this, but whenever I have a problem in the relationship, and it may seem like it's not that deep, it may seem like it's not anything that even needs to be addressed, I feel like my husband takes it and he really tries to do whatever it is that I need him to do to make that particular thing better. You know what I mean? I really feel like the next time that we are in a situation that I had that I didn't like or whatever, I can see a difference that he's actually trying to put forth the effort to do it better this time or to change whatever needs to be changed so that I feel better about that particular issue. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's a part of the whole spiritual aspect of a relationship, the whole oneness, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my part. If there's anything that my husband doesn't like, or is there anything that he's having an issue with, I'm going to really try to put forth that effort to make that better. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to be deliberate in making sure that I work on myself, on my part, so that we can have that spiritual oneness, which makes the physical oneness even better. And it's just, it's a reciprocal thing. If I'm working on our spiritual oneness, then our physical oneness automatically gets better, which automatically helps that spiritual oneness.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it really, really works that way.
So that might be the other thing that I would tell my 22-year-old self. I would say, stop thinking that sex is just physical.
Yes.
I would say to my 22-year-old self, sex is actually spiritual. And then I would say, you're going to be surprised. You're going to like sex better in your 40s than you do right now. And I know 22-year-old me wouldn't believe it. But
if you have to put if there.
If you're working on the spiritual aspect of your relationship.
So you can't ignore the things that you need to work on in your relationship and think the physical is going to get better.
That's right.
The physical is not going to get better unless you are working on that spiritual.
Exactly.
Because, you're not going to even enjoy the physical if there's all kinds of things going on in your relationship that aren't right.
That's true.
It actually takes away from the physical.
It does. But if we're right, and I think we are, if we're right that sex is spiritual, then that means that it can be better even when you're physically unable to do things the way that you used to be able to do when you were young.
True.
Because I feel like I can tell the difference on the basketball court when I'm playing against my son. There's no way I'm physically what I used to be.
Right.
I'm just not. I may be actually physically stronger where I could like beat myself in an arm wrestling match at 22.
Right.
But there's no way I'm faster. There's no way I could run as long or as hard. There's no way I can recover the same way. Like if I play basketball, I'll be like in the bed for 2 days now, afterwards still sore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no way that I'm as good as I was then physically.
Right.
And yet, here I am enjoying sex more. To me, it doesn't compute. Why is that the case? If it's a physical thing, then why am I better? Why am I enjoying it better and I'm not even better physically? Well, that's why. I think it's because it's actually spiritual.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I think people need to know that. If you know that, then you will know that the longer you're with somebody, this is what we're really saying, the longer you're with somebody, the better the sex should be.
Wow.
So even if I'm 60 or 70 and now I might even need the assistance of a pill to get me to even be able to do it. I don't know.
Right.
It's better. It can be better then because it actually represents the physical represents the spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you've been working on that relationship all those years.
Exactly.
It's been getting better and better spiritually.
Yes.
The oneness has come in to be better.
Yes.
And so the physical is better just because that love is stronger.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So think of it this way. Sex is physical oneness. If you think about the sex act, you're physically one during that time, right? Well, if the metaphor is that we're two becoming one when we get married, and of course that's a spiritual thing, then that's how it makes sense now. It makes sense now that sex would actually be better when the spiritual is better, because the longer we spend on trying to be spiritually one, then the better the physical oneness is going to be.
Right.
It makes complete sense.
It does.
Doesn't seem like it makes sense at first, but it does.
Right.
So what we're really saying to you is, if you're in your 40s and you think, oh man, or if you're about to turn 40 and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna be over the hill. I'm gonna hate it now. It's gonna be whack because I'm not, physically the same. I'm not the same shape. Well, it doesn't matter. What really matters is, are you working on the spiritual oneness of your relationship?
Yeah, because you have to think about when you turn 50, 60.
Yeah, well,
you want
exactly.
it to get better and better. You don't want it to go down.
Exactly.
And we know there's some physical things that happen that could cause some issues. So
Of
we're
course.
talking about if you are basically physically healthy enough to be
engaged in sexual engagement.
Right.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
But I agree that love being deliberate about that love, growing that love, making it stronger, will also make that physical better. Just because.
Yes.
And it's not even about what you do.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I'm committed to. I actually wish I could go back in time and tell myself that, but in some ways I don't. Because I think the journey has been great.
And the
learning
growth,
and
helps.
being surprised
exactly.
every turn. At 30, wow, this is way better. 35, oh my goodness, this is even better. 40, oh my god.
Because this
amazing.
too. I always go back to circumstances because circumstances really make a difference in your life too.
Yeah.
With having kids, your jobs, just different things in life, moving, those things can cause the physical to be affected.
Yes.
So even through those times, I feel like you cannot neglect the spiritual.
Yes.
That love. You cannot neglect that oneness. And because it can cause that physical to be affected and it could be affected where one person feels a certain way and the other one doesn't, and then you don't want to communicate that. So it just causes a whole thing.
Right.
So I think it's a whole picture that you have to work on.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, I guess what we're saying to you is you can be confident and assured that the longer you're married, the better your sex should be if you are working on the spiritual aspects of your relationship.
Yep.
So keep working on it. And by the way, I'm not going to lie. There are times when I'm actually motivated by that. I'm motivated sometimes to work on the spiritual aspect of our relationship because I know that it's going to actually affect the physical.
Yeah.
And because I enjoy being physically one with you, then I know, hey, let me put in some work on this other thing because I think it's gonna benefit it. You know. So
let's solve this argument tonight, so that later on, things can be good.
I'm gonna want some, so let's resolve this thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, for real. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think that actually helps the relationship.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think it does way better because of that. So I just want to say that I feel similarly about you, and I've actually learned this from you. You were talking earlier about how you feel like, I'm willing to work on things. So I've always felt the same way about you. I've always felt like when it comes to our situations, no matter how difficult they are. If we're going through something, you want to work on it to try to resolve it and try to fix it. And I have no idea how many husbands have wives that are willing to do that or not. I really don't know. But one thing I've always appreciated about you is that you allow me the time, if you feel like I need it, to be able to say, we're not going to deal with this right this second, so that we can deal with it later on and actually come to a resolution. Because sometimes the timing is critical.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's really important. So I've
is.
learned from you how it is to make our spiritual aspect of our relationship important and how to really take it seriously. And by the way, I've also noticed how when I don't take it seriously, it kind of affects things in a way that I don't want it to. And it definitely affects whether or not you want to have sex with me.
It does. I'm sorry. I mean, like, I don't do well with that. Like, I don't do well with
being in the mood.
When I am upset about something.
Right.
It just doesn't work with me.
Right.
For me.
And that's probably every wife in the world.
And I think some husbands too. I mean, maybe.
I doubt it. Just wives.
Well, we did talk about that. Husbands are physical. Men are more physical.
Yes. We could be in the middle of a fight right now.
Visual.
And you put on something and I'm like, okay, you're forgiven. You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with that.
Oh, well, that's the difference between men and women. And that's okay.
Exactly.
And
that's
if you
fine.
know that, that's good.
Exactly.
But I think it's okay to say, hey, we have to work on this thing in our relationship because if you don't work on those things, the physical might not be that good.
True.
You know what I'm saying? You
That's
might do the thing, but you might not really want to.
Yes.
And then it's just
Exactly
not a good thing. You want
it to be enjoyable.
You want sex to be healthy, the spiritual aspect of your relationship to be healthy. So you want to work on all of those things so that you can just have an overall healthy relationship.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's just it.
So we just want to encourage you that sex after 40 is actually better. And from No, it is. But it is because of what we're doing.
It is for us.
Yes.
Because what we're doing. But I'm saying it can be. So if it isn't now, that can change.
Yes.
You can change. And I really feel like marriage it takes effort. You have to put that effort in, and then it ends up being, benefiting later.
I agree.
Or
so
right then.
Work on the spiritual and you'll enjoy the physical better.
I agree.
Yeah. So now it's time for our word of the day.
All right, the word of the day today.
Word of the day is insatiable.
What?
Oh, sorry.
The word of the day is connection.
Connection, my bad.
Insatiable.
Okay, you're right.
What do you mean by that?
She's not insatiable. That's not true.
What? Insatiable is unsatisfied.
Well, it just means that, no matter what, you always want more. But anyway, that's not really the word of the day. Word of the day is connection. Connection.
Connection means a relation of personal intimacy.
That's a good one.
That's what the word of the day is.
It's a good word of the day. Yes. So you've got to have a spiritual connection with your spouse if you want to improve your physical connection. And it will improve dramatically if you figure out that those two things are connected.
Yeah.
Work on the spiritual, work on that connection, and you will end up having a much better physical connection with your spouse.
Yes.
Sorry to embarrass you in this one, babe.
Yeah, you really did. And then all the way to the end.
I'm not sorry, though. I was just kidding. It makes for a better podcast.
Wow.
Anyway, see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Just John and April.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell to be notified about our next episode.
See you next time.
Bye.